Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, respected sir. My name is Wasali. My two group members, Sarma Javed and Natasha Malak, will be presenting Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of the book. Chapter 1 from Human Resource Management in Project-Based Organization and Chapter 10 from the Advancing Human Resource Project Management. To begin with, I will be presenting Chapter 1, Project-Based Projectification on the way, followed by Sarmat and the Shah present Chapter 10. Here is the scheme of my presentation. I will present them one by one. Let's move to the next slide. The context of this chapter. The context of this chapter is to provide the background of human resource management in project management and how it evolved over the time. This chapter also provides an overview of the book and what type of a topic related to which are human resource management in a project major are discussed. This book is an investigation into and depiction of human resource management in a particular kind of form. It is an investigation into the current hot topic of management and organization studies. The area tests center on the relationship between the individual and the organization. Move on to the next slide. Let's discuss the exploring human resource management, which are mainly discussed in this chapter. The most basic term is used in this chapter is human resource management. So first of all, what is human resource management? Basically, human resource management is a strategic approach to the effective and efficient management of people in an organization such that they help their business gain a competitive advantage. The purpose of the human resource management is to maximize performance in service of an employee's strategic objective. So what is project management? Project management is a process of leading a work of a team to achieve goal and meet success criteria in a specific time and allocated resources. And the other term is discussed in this chapter is human resource transformation. Human transformation helps organizations meet their specific workforce need and transformation further develop their overall human resource function. Human resource organizations use transformation program to access current practice and to build a new way of working. In the opinion of different scholars, human resource transportation is definition means to transform in this term of employment mode, contracting, and individual skills so the people can stay employed and both employees and the employer can become satisfied. The next role of human resource management. So human resource management has a critical role in handling the interplay between employers and employee. Human resource is a particularly important in ensuring that individuals find opportunity to develop themselves and that people are satisfied with their working situation. Now I found that what is the relationship between human resource management and project manager are correlated and how these are correlated. To understand the relationship between the human resource and project management are strategic. Both of them are useful for organization competitiveness, HR, and the key of every work done within an organization as they represent people, while project management skill is a key element of leading a project. Now moving forward, competitive challenges. These are the competitive challenges are discussed in this chapter in the context of supply and development of human resource and complex product and system, systematic innovation, technology integration. So first of all, what is human resource management? Human resource management is the characteristic or ability of any organization to achieve its mission more successfully than competitive organization goods. Their organization face different competitive challenges and the many analysts provide the solution to resolve the complex problem. In the form of problem-based solution, many analysts argue that one of the most important discussed for the development of thermal production in the mounting capacity of the product and system which sources from is developed strategic and designed to increase its definite benefits of relevant solution system, integration and project business. New problem needs new solution, more exclusive problem with the development of new business strategy, the capacity of the challenge and the problem has to lead the manager to explore critical solution. In the consequences of these capacities, more people are involved to solve a complex problem. And those complex problems often require very quick organization response, compromising team, or work mutually coordination. So the organization solution process forces companies to develop their problem-solving capabilities, and teamwork capabilities. So let's move to the next slide, projectification and the projectification. In this chapter, there are two terms that I explain. So first need to understand what is the project and projectification. There are many definitions of project, but the important thing is that the definition of project is discussed in this chapter, which is project refers to any temporary door with a definite beginning and end. Depending on its capacity, it can be managed by a single person or 100. So what is projectification? Projectification can be defined as a general development process in which firms to greater extent focus their operation on project. Project management and various type of project-like structure. Moving forward, these are the silent feature of project-based organization. Silent feature means characteristic of something, characteristic of basic project-based organization, which consists of being aimed at evoking a non-routine process and non-competing process, having predetermined time span on which an organization is bound to start to end a specific activity, having some kind of performance meeting and evaluation criteria, for example, time in the context of cost, quality, value, creation. In this term of activities and goals, project is very complex. It has different role, interdependency that they requires organization effort. It means that all the ongoing processes of project are interrelated and interdependency. Moving forward, these are the two measures which are used to resolve the complex project. So first need to these are the two measures which are used to resolve the complex problem. So first need to understand what is the modularization and what is the standardization. The difference between the modularization and standardization. Modularization break the some small problem break the complex problem into small problem individually, and standardization solve the problem according to standard, involve different standards and different parameters. So modularization, it is the process that breaks down the complex system into small and solvable parts by dividing the product structure into module. Organizations seek to optimize the way they function and they operate in the terms of transforming their products in a more flexible and accurate way. So standardization bring innovation first because it provides structure, method, and reliable data that save time in the innovation process. And second, which is because it makes it easier to disseminate groundbreaking ideas and knowledge about leading edge technique. Moving forward, the role of projectification, HRM. In this chapter, the role of projectification and HRM discussed in the term of adequacy. So first of all, what does adequacy mean? Adequacy is the form of business management that emphasizes individually initiated and self-organization in the order to accomplish tasks. Project-based organization, HRM. What is project-based organization in HRM? The project-based organization are defined as a organization form that are necessary in the making temporary system for the project performance. It conducts most of the project activities and provide the functional approaches of the project. Human resource is a core value-adding process in the project-based organization. In this book, the project-based organization investigation is explained with the references of various and existing literature. There are many analyses, like Midley in 1995, investigated that the projectification and human resource management of the firm of the French automotive makers company named Renault, and its evaluation is change of the project-based organization structure. Then chemist in 2004 and analyzed that human resource management is project managed in the context of research and development. But late 2005, 2006 discussed about the different type of project-based firm and then identified that every firm has its own measures, standards for human resource during a project process. Let's move to the next slide. Now I'm requesting to Sarmad Javed Please continue the further part of the presentation. Let over to you.
Thanks, Masla. The topic of my presentation is the dark side of project-based organization. They are defined and explained as under action locality, temporary system, temporary organization, projectized organization, entrepreneurial intacts, the dysfunctional conflicts, project overload. Action locality. Action locality defined as below. In project-based organization and boundaryless careers, where people move from one action locality to another, a regular basis on regular basis do not come without problem and tension. Although it might be difficult to distinguish the consequences that relate specifically to increased use of project-based structure and temporary employment contracts, typically cases, interact, and project justification is only one of the many interacting cause to affect HRM. Now we are going to discuss what is temporary system. Publication work from Willman and Cicero, 1970. Gamel and Wellman, 1970. Wellman and Gamel and Wellman and Gamel, 1971, and Wellman, 1970. These were the authors who researched on temporary system and defined them on the ambiguities of project management. They find analysis of temporary system and as well as set of application that later influenced researchers investigating the temporary organization. The former set of studies documents and the problem with matrix organization, the challenges of having two bosses who rely on competing authority system and the power struggler between project management and function manager that proved because of their conflict there is a pressure on individual project worker. Kenneth in 1978 found higher level of role of ambiguity, conflict, and overload in a temporary system that impact the organization. Now I'm going to define projectized organization. Projectized organization work by carrying activities into portfolios and program and executing them through project. In this type of structure, the project manager is the final authority over the project and handling. The team that is working on the project report solely to project manager. It includes issues of phase out of temporary out and temporary relationship. They identify the lack of formal procedure and clear role definition to the major cause of frustration in project-based organization. The next point is about entrepreneurial intacts. Entrepreneurial intent explained that success is not result of education, IQ, access to capital, or even earth-shattering business plan. Hamilton in 1970 stresses the difficulty yet important balance between control and freedom to be able to deal with entrepreneurial intent. They are common for people working in project context. Dysfunctional conflict. is conflict that lead to the deadline communication in the performance of groups. It can be our abundance of conflicts, our lack of sufficient motivation, Melker and Kaiser in 1970 identified the problem of cooperation in an interdisciplinary context, particularly highly highlighting the challenges of building a team in project. Setting the tents according to the Butler to leads a various sort of dysfunctional conflict in project-based organization. Project overload. What is project overload? It is a situation when a project management manager has more project to be managed than than he can adequately handle at the same period of time. Kenneth in 1978 found higher level of role of ambiguity, conflicts, and overload in temporary system. Their survey reveals that project work, particularly in multi-project environment, enhance the risk of excessive overload with little time for reflection, learning between project. Study also shows that issues lead to stress reaction to continuous deadline pressure. The above all studies led light on the dark side of project-based organization. Side manager and the theorist should be aware in order to properly design support system and to prove work condition support system in order to able to offer a fine grained analysis of project-based organization and its consequences. Further, I am going to discuss about matrix organization. What is matrix organization? Matrix organization is one in which there is dual or multi-manager accountability and responsibility. However, term metrics mean different things to different people and industries. In matrix organization, two chains of commands, one along functional lines and other along project, project, comma, product and client are included. Consequences of matrix organization: dual affiliation, loyalty problem, and unclear responsibilities. What is cross functionality? Lack of deep expertise, lack of affiliation are included in cross functionality. This is basically referred to the practice of assembly projects terms using members of organization from different functions from different functions. The project manager must also be skilled to solve the conflict resolution, which is more likely to happen with a diverse group. Task complexity. It includes feeling chaos and uncertainty in organization that, that affect the organization projects highly. The next changing term, temporary organization. Lack of trust and social connectedness and corrosion of character. Can you go to next slide, please? Project-based organization is also highly affected by the time pressures of continuing work and technical uncertainty. Technical uncertainty are can define as when knowledge of something is scientifically possible, of technology feasible, or how to achieve it particularly is not ready available by competency professional working on the field. Fluctuating demand. Fluctuating demands are demands that changes with time. It may be referred to a fall in demand or rise in demand. Next slide, please. The bright side of project based organization. The bright side of project based organization include deadline mean you have to do work on specific time. Making it on time, it means the project given to hello. Making it in time. The project must be done in a given and must be executed in required time. Rational break. There must be rational breaks in project. Help break the spell and facilitating strategic rethinking. There must be availability of strategic rethinking in an organization. Generate recurrent of glimpse of light, correction of character, support, solidarity, solidarity and communication. Next, what is making it in time? Use the right tool and equipment. We must use right tool and equipment to execute the project. Know number two, know how you spend your time. We must know how we're going to spend our time. According, we must manage our time accordingly to timetable. Set priorities. We must know what are the priorities in the project. We know what task, which task should be done first, and which task should be done next to it. Organize your task list. We must organize our task list according to our project. Which task is done, have to done first, and which is task is to done secondly, and so on. Avoid our commitment. We must avoid our commitment in our project. Next slide, please. Respond to the challenges of project based organization. The organization point of view, the management of identified challenges seem to be critical task. In addition, the skill and abilities of individual project workers need to be addressed. The points are given as under. What are the important technical and social skills required for HR focused? Required HR focused. We must know the important technical and social skill that are necessary for HR focused. No. The second point is about what kind of integrative skill do engineer need to possess. Challenges of latest technology. The engineer or the expertise must know the engineer or must be skillful so it can face any uncertainty or challenges that might occur in latest technology. Number three, what kind of support do they need to improve their performance. They must know how to improve their performance using latest tools and latest technology. The next point is about what is the responsibility of person, assuming the personal responsibility for individual project worker. It means each project workers should know their responsibility. What are the responsibility of individual project worker? Sorry, there was some type of network issue. I'm going to start again from challenges. Keeping the challenges include keeping team on same page. We must keep our team on the same page. We must assign the task to say a specific person, and it must be accordingly the tasks are defined. Number two, poorly defining the goals and objective. Number three, unrealistic deadline. Number four, finding the right project management software. We must have a right management software for working on a project accordingly the client demand. Scope creep insidious, insidious and creepy. Insufficient team scale. Miscommunication cause conflict. Mostly in misconflict cause the failing of a project, so it must be neglected. Risk management should also be kept in mind while working on any project. Uh, so everybody should know about what are the risks the organization should face in the future, or what kind of risk it might face in present situation, or what kind of risk organization faced in past time. Next slide. HR focused. Human resource management focused on the following terms: provide an enhanced understanding of project-based organization and their consequences of HRM. Present state of art of research and practice within the area of HRM, focusing on one particular type of organization, the project-based organization. As we know, project-based organization is already defined as above. Present example of novel and innovative forms of organizing HRM in project-based organization. Analyzing the challenges of HRM in project-based organization and identifying the major challenges implemented in the studies organization. Document some of the key challenges. We should document some of the key challenges which we are going to face while executing our project, and we discuss how the firm have responded to these challenge. We and it should also be discussed how the firm responded to the challenges in the past time when the project was facing some challenges. Outline and elaborate understanding of HR organization in project-based understanding of HRM in project-based organization. It should, all above should be kept in mind while executing the project. Next slide. Challenges of latest technology to HR. As we know, we are living in 21st century and technology is changing day by day. So we should we should keep these challenges in our mind while executing any project. Expensive, as we know, latest technology is expensive, time consuming, IT support and add-ons. Disparate key platforms that aren't scalable. There are platforms that cannot be that are not be scalable. Regulatory compliance issue. There are some regulatory compliance issue. Inadequate data. Our data is data that isn't already available. Means inadequate data means the data which is not available. Multiple vendors to the manager. Cumbersome recruiting and onboarding. Insecure data storage or transfer. There is insecure data. The data which we are working on are insecure nowadays. It might be got hacked or somebody can stole it easily. A transfer of data is not secure. Next slide. Conclusion. Now, what the conclusion about the all explained presentation is that in this chapter has explained some key terms related to project-based organization and human resource management in a short-term activity, which is called project. It has also emphasized the both side of project. There are two sides of project-based organization. The dark side of project-based organization and the bright side of organization, which is already discussed in above presentation. HRM, human resource management and project management is also concluded from this book. This book has elaborated project-based organization and human resource management. All the factors and also defining the all the factors affecting the process of human resource management in short-term activities and highlighted the key issue which possibly key issue with possible solution and outcomes. Opinion. The opinion is about the all the discussed chapter, and the opinion is that this chapter has provided the our view of whole book. The explanation of HRM in project-based organization cannot be explained in a single chapter. So Next slide. References. Mostly of the presentation is covered from the book Human Resource Management in Best Organization, Chapter 1, and the sum from the link given is under. Next. The next chapter is Chapter 10, Contract Administration for HR practitioners. This our group member Itishamul Haq is going to present this chapter. So I am so over to you, Itishamul Haq. So you should start your presentation. Thank you from me.
Thank you, Sarmat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our next chapter for presentation is Contract Administration for Human Resources Practitioners. Next slide, please. These are the contents from the chapter 10, which includes introduction, contracts and its types, some procurement methods, and what are the billing methods and billing schedules that are required for any contract. And we have some legal requirements before procuring any project and contract. And there are also some representations and certifications which are also required for any contract, and some strategic alliances. So moving toward our first topic, contract. What is contract? Contract is an agreement forced by law between two or more parties to complete some form of work and involves both an offers and acceptance. As we know that contract have many categories. Here, some four categories are enlisted below. One is written or verbal. Some contracts are in written form and some are finalized verbally, while some contracts are expressed or implied, some are formal and informal. Then these contracts are procured in a formal way or informal way. Similarly, we have bilateral or unilateral contract category, which involves promises made by two-way or only from the one side. Now, explaining briefly our next types of the categories. We have 7 categories, which are the categories of the contract types. Now explaining one and one briefly. Our first type is firm fixed price. Contract in which contractor provides total cost to provide services and is obligated to perform within the estimate provided. And this is the first type of the contract in which total cost is provided to a one party, and the party is obligated to perform within the estimated time and within the time frame. Here, every type of the firm have some benefits and some financial risk. The contractor benefit of this contract type is that in this case, there is higher profit if work is done more efficiently, and there are some financial risks. There in this type, there are high financial risk if project is underbid. Now moving toward the second type of the contract, fixed price incentive. The contract that provides for adjusting profit and establishing final contract price by application of a formula based on the relationship of total final negotiated cost to total target. In this type of the project, that profit is negotiated and everything cost, total target, total cost is negotiated from the both side of the parties. And here we have also some benefits for the contractor and some financial risk. In this case, profit is high for contractor if client agrees with the promise. If the client agrees with your promise, then you have maximum profit. And there are also some financial risks. Financial risk in this case is also high for a client if client disagree with the performance. So here we have we have two scenarios. If the contractor agrees with your performance, then you have maximum profit. And if the contractor disagree with your performance, then you have maximum financial risk. Now moving toward the third type, firm fixed price level of effort. Contract in which contractor provides pricing per each deliverable and is paid at the firm fixed price each time that is deliverable is completed. In this type of the contract, we have shown that this type of the project benefits or deliverables are paid in only that case when any part of the project is completed. Here we have also some contractor benefits and risks. So in this case, profit is higher for contractor if work done is more efficiently. If the contractor works more efficiently, then maximum profit will be given to that contractors. And what are the financial risk in this case? Financial risk is higher if project is underbid. So if the project is underbid and you have to invest more money, then in this case, financial risks are higher for any contractor. Our next type is cost sharing. Contract in which the contractors receives no fees and is paid only for an agreed upon portion of its allowable cost. In this type of the contract, how much any investor invests on his contract, he will be paid for the debt amount, for the debt investment which he invested on a contract. Here we have benefits and financial risk for also for this type. In this case, there is a contractor's ability to have a portion of research and development cost paid to him. And finally, what are the financial risks? There are low financial risk, but no profit for a contractor. Now moving towards our next type, cost plus fixed fees. In this type of contract in which all costs incurred associated with projects are paid by the client in addition to a negotiated predetermined fee. In this type of the contract, we contractors have to pay some additional charges, some additional pays to any party which are predetermined. Now we have also some benefits and some financial risk in this type of the contract. Here in this case, fee is guaranteed as long as contractor perform as promised. If the contractor perform as he promised, then in this case, fee is guaranteed for it. And what are the financial risks? Low financial risk for the contractor because contractor is paid for all labor expenses and fees. Now moving to our sixth type of the contract, time and material. Contract in which contractor provides a fixed hourly, daily, monthly bill rates to perform work derived by calculating burden labor expenses plus profit margin. In this type of a contract, contractor have to pay for any labor as a defined values there, so that we should pay any labor hourly, daily, or monthly. What are the rates preset for any kind of the contract? So there are the benefits in this case, that payment is determined based on actual work completed and cost is incurred. And what are the financial risks for contract? For this, in this contract, for contractor, low financial risk as contractor is paid for all authorized project related labors and expenses initially. Moving toward the seventh type of the contract, indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity. In this type of the contract, contractor is awarded by a government agency master agreement, which the government can issue tasks against any order. So this type of the contract is related to government projects and contracts. Here we have also some benefits and some financial risk for any contractor. So contractor can bid on future opportunities. In this case, that requires IDIQ, indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity master contracts. And what are the financial risks? There are medium financial risk for a contractor in this type. Further, I am going to discuss about billing schedules and payment terms. So what are the billing schedules? Billing schedule defines the timelines and the condition for payment related to any work performed. For example, invoices, specific billing formats, monthly reports, or other backup documents received. Let me tell you that billing should be stated clearly in a contract to avoid confusion. Now we have a payment term. A payment term specifies the period of time allowed for making payments for amount due. For example, we have one type NET 30, which means that payment is to be received not later than 30 days after receipt of an invoice. Some contractors will negotiate a shorter payment term such as NET 15 or due, which are the payments is to be received not later than 15 days after recipient of invoice. This is the advantageous to a contractor, especially when cash flow is an issue. In this type, contracting organization will sometimes request longer payment term, such as NET 60 or NET 90, in which payments to be paid in 60 days or 90 days. Contractor may also negotiate interest to be paid on nominees past dues. Typically, these interest fee range from 1.5 to 3% annual interest on past due amount. Now moving toward the form of the billing schedules. Here we have 6 types of the forms of the billing schedules. Number 1 is period after time. These types of the billings are issued routinely based on a specific duration of time. For example, these type of billings are issued weekly, monthly, quarterly. Now we have second type, installment billings. Installment billings are issued for the same amount each month. Amount is calculated in this type of the billings. Amounts are calculated based on a formula which equals to IB equals to total contract divided by equal installment periods. Our third type is milestone deliverable. These type of billings are issued when a defined task is completed or a deliverable is provided to a client. So when these type of billings are issued, when the project is completed, our next type of the billing is end of the project. These type of billings are issued after the entire project is completed. And prepaid upfront billings, these type of billings are issued in upfront case. Similarly, our next type is pay for the performance. These type of billings are issued when performance criteria usually established in an agreed on scoreboard are met. So when agreed performance is delivered, then these type of the billings are paid. Now, contract terms and conditions. There are some terms and conditions required for any contract. So contract terms are the provision that forms a contract. Contract term defines the contractual obligations and are included to provide a complete list of responsibilities and obligations throughout the stated period of performance. So these are the responsibilities on the both sides of the parties and are important to be followed by the both parties. So some terms and conditions are explained in the next slide. Here we have some common terms and the conditions. Number 1 is contract time and consultation. Type and consultation. So when we start any project, as we explained above, there are the some types, 7 types of the project. So contract have any type and consultations. Then we have period of the performance, that what is the time length for any project to complete in a tenure. With here we have some contract terms. Fixed number one is for fixed terms. The fixed term explains that contract which starts and end dates. So in this fixed term, end and start date is explained. Now we have second term, fixed with renewal. This type of contract with yearly based start and end dates with option of extended. So these are the conditions and the time in which these terms are listed, so that the project starts and ends with option of the extending. Open-ended with the right to determine. So these are the contract terms in which start and end dates are not defined, and both have right to terminate the project anytime. Now we have parties. Parties includes name of the organizations and are listed in this portion. Our next term is signature block. And this signature block includes the signatures of the both contracting officials. Now, scope of the work. So this term, scope of the work, includes goods or the services which are provided during the whole tenure of the project. Next is option to extend. In these type of the terms, these are terms allowing or disallowing parties to negotiate to extend the terms of any project. Then we have notifications. These terms are the instructions and contact informations which are to be notified to each other. Then we have billings and payment terms. These terms really are related to billing schedule, taxes and payments, etc. Then we have confidentiality and non-disclosure. This terms includes a dispute by one party based on interpretation of the contract obligations which were resolved through these terms. If any party have any obligations with any contractor, then these obligations were resolved through these terms. Next, we have indemnity. In this term, where rights, which protects rights of any labor or any client, basics information, his data, his name, his informations. So these terms are used to protect data and information of any persons. Next, we have arbitrations. These terms includes the terms related to the party to agree to cover cost of dispute caused by third party. So if there is any dispute or any dismanagement within a project, then some terms are listed in this type of the terms and condition arbitration, which is named as arbitration, and parties agrees to cover the dispute caused by any third party, which are covered with respect to these terms. Then we have attorney fees. This terms helps to resolve the disputed outside the court. If we have any dispute between two parties, then they have to resolve the dispute outside the court. Then they follow these terms and conditions which are listed within this type. Then we have termination for cause, which in this type of the terms and condition, some points are listed, that which party agrees to pay to the other party on illegal dispute. If some parties have any dispute, and we have to define these disputeds, and we have to pay some money in case of any charge, then these disputers are defined in terms of these conditions. Then we have termination for convenience. In this terms, there is listed that ability to terminate a contract without any breach. That there are some points are listed in this terms that anyone have, which party have ability to terminate a contract without any breach. Then we have solicitation of employees. When a party actively pursue the other party employees in an attempt to hire those individuals as employees of the other organization, then there are some rules and regulations to hire the person from the other party. That some conditions and some legalities are mentioned in this terms and conditions. Then we have warranties, that contract warranties, some promises and assurance made by each party, which are listed in this type. Then we have contract assignment. In this type of the term, rights of the each party to transfer contract to another party are listed in it. Similarly, we have intellectual property. Any legal protected product of the human mind are enlisted in this intellectual property. For example, computer codes, lab tests, which are only as we know that some codes are concluded within the organizations, and some lab tests are conducted within the organization. So these tests and codes belongs to that party. So legally protected products of the human minds are listed in this terms. Then we have exclusivity. Restrictions or exclusions to contract are mentioned in it. So there are some restrictions in any contract that are listed in this type of the common terms and conditions. Then we have insurance. It includes benefits of one party must obtain in the event of the claim. If there is some injury or loss or other liability resulting to a financial harm, then those benefits which are paid by any party were enlisted in this. Then we have limited liability. Any waiver is a permit parties to forego or give up the right to sue for any breach. That any permit which is to be paid for any breach were enlisted in it. Then we have waiver. Waiver is a permit parties to forego or give up the rights. Similarly, we have export regulations. These export regulation includes responsibilities that must be performed under the contract requirements and are listed in this type of the terms. Then we have conflict of interest. This type of the terms includes requirements that must be adhered to, should be listed within the contract. And at the end, we have security. These terms includes requirements that must be protected within any firm or contract. Now moving toward our next topic, that is the legal requirements which are required for any contract. First, we have insurance, and then we have export control, security provisions, and intellectual property. What are the export controls? Export control is an area of legislation that regulates the export of goods, softwares, and technology. That how we regulates or transfer our goods, softwares, and technologies within the firms or contracts. Then we have security provision. Security provision includes demonstrating proper identifications, conducting drug screenings of personnel, following physical securities and procedures. So it includes the procedures which are required for any project, that how we conduct drug screening, any personal screening, any physical and security procedure. Then we have intellectual property. Intellectual property is an illegal protected product of human mind. Similarly, we discussed that intellectual property includes the self-hiring assessment, performance management tools, learning videos, softwares, and codes, talent management, programmings and plannings, and etc. Moving to the next slide, we have some laws which are followed during any contracts. There are many regulations requirements surrounding basic pay, work hours, labor protection, hiring practices, safe and healthy work conditions, harassment, ethical behaviors, employee demographics. So contractor must be aware of the regulations and should specify who is liable if goods or service are misused by any contracting organizations. So we have some labor laws in Pakistan also, which defines basic work hours, basic pay of the laborers, which protects the laborers from the misuse of their power. So there are also some rules how we hire some parties, some persons, and there are also some safety requirements which are required within organizations to protect the laborers. There are some rules and regulations which are used to protect the workers from the harassment, and there are some also rules and regulations of the ethical behavior, that how someone conduct and someone contact with anybody. Similarly, now we have contracting modifications. Contracting modifications are typically made for scope of work changes, price adjustment, period of performance extensions, notification name or address changes. So there are some modifications which are to be made during any project, which refers to work change, project adjustment, price adjustment, or any extension in that projects were listed in this contract modifications. Contract modifications should be written and written changes to an existing contract. So contract modification must be mutually agreed on both parties. What are the benefits of this contract modification? That this will reduce risk to organization and prevent unnecessary claims if a modification is not executed. Now, our next slide is representation and certifications. A legal representation is a statement of current fact that a party makes with the intent that the other party will rely on it. And what are the certifications? Certifications are sometimes required to be notarized for the legal purposes. So these representations and certifications are used during any legal processes which are required during the execution of a project. Upon providing these representation informations which are requested, contractors often must sign a certifications providing a warranty that the statements are the true. Now moving to the next slide, strategic alliance. A strategic alliance is an agreement between two or more parties to pursue a set of agreed objectives needed while remaining independent organizations. There are some pros and cons of these strategic alliance. The benefit of these strategic alliance is that it reduces cost and the risk of any project. And there is a risk also that sharing of the trade secret take place in this alliance. If you are making any alliance with any firm and any contractor, then you have to share your trade secrets with that party, and it may create a potential competitor against your firm. Now conclusion, that in the conclusion of this chapter is that contracts plays a fundamental role in driving how projects are conducted and can impact their potential for a success or failure. Well-written contract minimize the risks and liabilities. This will ensure products and services are delivered and promised, and payment is made as agreed. This chapter provides us complete information of the contracts, their types and strategies which are required for any project and legal requirements required during the project execution. So that's the end of our presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Aslam.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sir, Assalamu alaikum. Sir, I'm Ikram, and with me I have in panel Iman Fatma, Zakat Ali Beg, and Suhail Nawaz. Sir, we have actually two parts of the presentation. The first part is being presented by myself and the Iman Fatma, and second part is being presented by Zakat Ali Beg and Suhail Nawaz. To start with, sir, for the first half, I'll invite Iman Fatma to present her part. Iman Fatma, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Iman. Next slide, please. So the topic of my presentation, the part which I am going to present is project workers and project-based work. So talking about the project workers, task-based work regularly includes close joint effort with different specialists from other disciplinary fields and subject matters. It is in this regard a form of interdependent knowledge work. The second point is undertaking based work additionally include meeting new individuals and persistently going into new joint efforts. The beginning stage for our investigations in the universe of venture-based work is that vocation design and changing less individuals append their drawn-out possibilities to the predetermination of the solitary association. This also leads more people to follow a free agent route. Next slide, please. So, two important implications that projectification has on the work situation of organizational members. The first one is people are associated with different work cycles and constructions with the notable dynamics of birth and passing. They move from project task to project task, which implies that more than one's need to understand new assignments, a circumstance by a moderately serious level of vulnerability and intricacy. The second one is project-based work implies continuous moving, starting with one venture group, then onto the other, which has significant impact on close to home connection at work. Next slide, please. So here is a case study, a kind of case study. Linguists examined the change of an organization inside the Tetra Pak bunch towards the finish of the 1990s. The organization was changed into a more task-based association in which work was positively completed in cross-useful groups as per the creator. The change commonly delivered new standard of the game by cultivating single obligation and empowering market like cycles meant to advance self-coordinated exploratory work. The organization executed a novel sort of line association whereby capability network supplanted customarily line offices. All things being equal, people briefly had a place with project and were exposed to new extent pioneers as their tasks changed. Linguist contends that one of the major consequences of the new authoritative construction was the work to make people more honest than they may have been before the rearrangement. Depending more on the project it was trusted, would build single business venture and adaptability just as improve the flexibility of the firm. Next slide, please. Since such frameworks are shaped for a restricted reason, they will in general incorporate individuals who have never cooperated and who don't anticipate cooperating again. Additionally, since they are unpredictable, they address either a variety of capacities like account designing and showcasing, or the abilities like science gadgets and streamlined features. Next slide, please. So, Keith completed an investigation of transitory frameworks and associated pressure strain and changed job connection. Regular variation appear to diminish individual fulfillment and increment challenges in change. She contend that in transitory framework, people perform recently made jobs of brief span. Recently made jobs have habitually been found to need clearness and compact definition. These parts of freshness are contributing variables to job uncertain and job strain. Next slide, please. So, in several companies, in our study, specific tests are carried out to evaluate the climate and stress level in project. A common approach in classification of project workers into red, yellow, and green groups. The member in the red group are approached immediately and offered specific program to improve their work situation. In addition, they are given a course to help them reduce their stress level and improve their skills for coping with the high pressure. Take part in some of the events, although the decision is very much left to the individual workers. In these cases, we have observed that approximately 50% of the members choose to participate in the sport programs offered. Next slide. So, as work turned out to be more undertaking centered, our feelings of having a place progressively expand on the task as the focal point of responsibility. From this viewpoint, the association of work around project groups make new types of social capital that make network associations inside and between associations. Over to Ikramullah Khan.
Thank you, Iman. With this, I come over to the second half of the first part. Sir, this second half would tell us about so many things. And first is the boundless human resource. Why we call it boundaryless? Because there are certain shifts in our projects. We shift from one project to another project, and in that, people change their profession very quickly. There are movements within the projects. These movements and these shifts make it boundaryless because often it is not known that what would happen in the next project. So this uncertainty and this lack of that knowledge of the next project makes it boundaryless. And as on the slide in the red, you can see that the supply and development of human resource is increasingly fluid. Project settings had tend to emphasize the emergence of boundaryless careers and boundaryless people. So project to project, things vary, and that makes the people boundaryless, and the career also become the boundaryless. We have one, we call it fact box. Actually, it is a case study. In Mittler's study, while he was studying the Renault company, he was able to make out certain judgments. And in judgments, he made out that in projects, basically, there are no traditional career management tools like promotions and career progressions. And he said that basic things are only available in the firm, but not in the projects, because there were more projects in one firm of the Renault, and every project had specific people with specific job descriptions, but there were no job projections and promotions. Now, so far I have talked about the temporary nature of the work. Like we shift from one project to another project, we shift from one career to another career, and at the same time, we see that there are no promotions in the projects, but still there is permanence. And what is that permanent? That permanence is the relation between the individuals. Whenever they work together, they develop relations, and those relations are often permanent. There are two things. One, they work in one project, they develop relations, and those relations become permanent. And second is that they are already related, and because of that relation and their acquaintance, they join one project. Like a manager knows a person who is skilled for some job, He gets that man into his own organization, into his own project, and he makes him work. That relation is basically the thing that creates permanence in overall, that converts temporary work into the permanent work. Now, this slide says that intelligent careers in a world of projects. It says that within the project, there are certain parameters that are that actually build that project to the culmination. And what are those parameters? Those parameters are the ingredients of an intelligent career, and those are knowing why, knowing how, and knowing whom. If we explain these things, we come to know that first thing is everyone should know what he has to do. He should know. Then he should know why he's doing this all. The actual essence of the project, he should know that. And then how is very important. That if he is able to make out that how this project is going on, or how his career is making up, he will be able to sharpen his skills, and he will be able to perform better. And then is knowing whom. This relates to training. He should know that from where he can learn, or he can have those skills sharpen after undergoing the training. The last thing is liminality in the project-based work. What is liminality? We said boundaryless, we said permanence. Now we are saying that it is limited. What makes it limited? Though, like example is given here, that as soon as a person shifts from childhood to adulthood, that shift is basically a threshold, and that sets a limit, that after some time he's no more child, he's a grown-up man. So for everything there is a threshold. In every project there is a threshold, because there is timeline set, there is scope set, there is a budget set. These all things include into the threshold. And what all makes the what all sets those limits? Those are reputational reliance. What is that? That I carry a repute, so I can work to certain limit with that repute. But again, all the time and at all the places, I cannot use that reliance, that reputation. Then is role carving. Role carving is kind of skill. Even skill can take you to certain limit, not beyond that. Then relaxation is that space that we enjoy. Sometimes we are given some leverage. And then is redefinition. Redefinition is that within the job we try to make new things, but again everything has its limit. And same is given in this slide, that but it says that liminality is not necessarily a negative state. It could be positive. Positive in a sense that if you stay in your limits with skills, with your that leverage, you will be able to perform better. So it says that liminality has two types, like social and technical. These two things are interconnected, but still they have their separate identity. Now I would request Nazakat to take on the second part first off. Nazakat bhai, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I will present the chapter 8. That is planning and organizing. Our chapter is, and we have the reference book is Advancing Human Resource and Project Management. So in project management, planning is one of the main component, because when we done our proper planning for the project, so there is a more probability that the project will get a success. So in project management, PMI defined the project planning in these words: those processes required to establish the scope of the project, refine its objectives, and define the courses of action required to attain the objectives that the project was undertaken to achieve. So it's clearly mentioned that whenever we plan
our project. So the planning is one of the key important components where the activities should be planned properly, the HR should be planned properly, the procurement should be planned properly, so that the project will be rolled out properly. There are 7 phases in project, 5 phases in project management, like project initiation, project planning, project implementation, project monitoring, evaluation, and control, and project closure. So that's why the project planning is a main pillar in the project management. So in this chapter, we will give you a complete overview of project planning process, insight into the project management, particularly focusing the human resource in project management. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So why planning is important? As I mentioned earlier, but here are some very specific responses why project planning is important. There are, the first is there to examine the relationship, examine the relevancy and consistency of the chosen solution. Secondly, to identify what needs to be done. Like if we plan properly, then we define that which option is quite good to take, that would benefit the project delivery, they would enhance the performance of the project. So that's why if we plan properly, then we can identify what needs to be done. Then thirdly, the planning also anticipate the problems, because through the planning we can anticipate that what would be the problem or the hurdles for the project that cause or that impact the implementation pace of the project. So through planning we can determine or we can anticipate the upcoming problem, and we can propose the solution to meet their problems. Fifth, to specify resource requirement, because through planning we can manage, we can define that what resources would be required. In this, you can say figure, you can see that project planning process overview. Project planning process overview is very important, because those individuals who are being involved in project planning, they must know these 6 the key component of project planning process. The first is that, because if the team who are involved in planning know these 6 component of project planning process, so they can better contribute to plan a good planning for the program. So the first is why the project. So it responds that why the project we are going to implement. The reason is that what would be the goals of the project, what would be the outcome, what would be the deliverable, and what would be the constants of the planning process. So this question responds to these concerns. Secondly, what would be the word package of the discrimination? So it basically describes structuring the scope of the planning. Then what task network? Basically this responded what activities we will take that will respond to outcome, then they will respond to achieve the deliverables of the planning process. Then we have who organize or what would be the organization, culture, governance, and structure. Would you please move back? Then 5. What would be done in this? In the stage 5th, we determined that we actually develop the responsibility metrics and accountable each and every member of the project, that what would be his activities, what would be the assigned task, what would be the mandate of any particular individual. In 6 steps, there are 2 parts. The first is scheduling, where we schedule the cost, and the other is budget, that for a particular activity, what would be the cost and what would be the expected, you can say that for cost budget for the particular activity to be done. Next part. Next slide, please. So in this slide, you can see there are some example of a project goals, outcomes, deliverables, and constants. So for instance, the goal of this project is increasing HR project success. Then the outcome of the project is project management competencies. Then the deliverables are training program, project management, career. And the project constants are limit on the development and delivery cost and the limited time frame. So these are some of the constants. So whenever we plan our program with the team, so each and every team member must know what is the project goals, what are the project outcomes, what are the deliverables, and what are the project future constants. So we will plan and propose strategies to overcome these constants and complete this project successfully. Next, please. Next slide. So in planning and organizing, there is one of the most important components is structure in the WBS work breakdown structure. Basically, in WBS, we decompose or divide the project into sub components, then sub outputs, then sub activities, because it's a kind of hierarchical distribution of tasks. For instance, the WBS is the PMI defined WBS in these words: a hierarchical decomposition of the total scope of work to be carried out by a project team to complete the project objectives and create the required deliverables. Next slide, please. So when we talk about the decomposition of activities or the decomposition of the project into small, then there are some, these are three components to be completed to decompose or divide the project into three you can say approaches, which are deliverable, that is top to down approach, where we distribute our deliverables from top to down. The second is task, that is bottom to up, and the third is chronological. So these are the basically three approach which are being used to decompose the project into sub activities. So at least the reason is that we can focus from activity based till the objective to the goal of the project. So once the approach has been identified, the WBS can be developed by undertaking the following steps. The first is that identify the major project elements to be achieved, the proper level of the decomposition. Secondly, verify the breakdown. And the third is define the codification of the project work breakdown structure. Codification is basically where we allocate each and every activity with a certain title or with a certain you can say number. So based on that, we can track the particular activities, their progress, their process, and the course that has been occurred against the particular. So decomposition is basically, you can say that that it's a code for each and every activity. So this is the work brain structure approaches, which I already mentioned here. You can see the top to bottom approach, left to bottom to down approach, and hierarchical approach. Now I would request my fellow Suhail to take over from here onwards.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sir, as explained by my fellow Nazakat Ali, we have to decompose the project into different elements, as it is shown in the figure: phases, deliverables, intermediate results, white packages, and elementary tasks. We have three different approaches for this decomposition. On the left side, we have top-down approach. On the right side, we have bottom-up approach, and at the bottom, we have execution strategy. Next slide, please. So we have an example of HR project. It is showing the WBS for an HR project. We decompose the WBS into different levels as per their importance. For example, in the first level, we will consider project management deliverables, project manager competencies, and change management deliverables. Next slide, please. So after the formation of WBS, we will get the formal approval for the WBS, as it is the second second step of the WBS. After the verification of WBS, we will have WBS codification, as it is shown in the table. Next slide, please. So after formation of WBS, we will have white package description. That includes the identification of work package, the signature of person designated to accept the description, the name of the project sponsor, work package start and end date, deliverables, interfaces, cost estimates, risk criteria, and any other management specification. Next slide, please. So after the formation of WBS and other formalities, we will come to the major part of the project that includes resources. So we have to gain the resources for completion of our project. We will further classify the resources into three different forms that are internal resources, external resources, material resources. Next slide, please. After acquiring the resources, we will come to the major part to another part of the project, that is project network diagram. And this interlinks different activities by three different relationships that includes end to start, start to start, and end to end. Next slide, please. After project network diagram, sir, we will have a critical path by interlinking different major activities, and we will study this critical path by critical path method. That is a management method that helps to identify the most critical activity in any project, and it is the most lengthy activity of the project that influence the completion of the project. And so the basic elements that assist in calculating the critical path are date start at the earliest date we can start the project, date start at the latest, the last date we can start the project without delaying the project. So date finish at the earliest date we can acquire by completion of the project. Date finish at the latest, the last date we can complete the project without delaying the project. Next slide, please. Sir, after critical paths, we will identify the schedule and budget required for the project. And for that, we have some major guidelines that includes the involvement of major stakeholders, individual work time, that is the effective time of working within working hours, adding more resources to an activity that is required for coordination time and spent working on the activity. Keep a good alignment between all the planning deliverables. Next slide, please. So with this, we come to the conclusion part. That is, planning competencies are central to the project's success, but not the sole factor. We have different software that helps in planning phases, but they are not effective if the sensitive engagement of the key stakeholder in the process is not involved. The project planning process is strongly influenced by the organization culture. The project planning process engages a common language not only for planning, but most important through the area of the occur. With this, we come into the end, and this shall be all from our side. Thank you, sir.
Assalamualaikum everyone, this is Ghazan Anwar here and I'm doing MS in Project Management. Today I took a topic of team behavior from the book Team Building and Toolkit, and I'm going to present you this chapter. It is hard to beat a person who never gives up. Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championship. Teams are like family. As you see, man cannot live alone. Society cannot live alone. Society cannot do nothing without a family. So teams are like family. So if you work as a team, the results are fruitful. When you work in a team, you may face different behaviors, different attitudes. There are 5 pyramids of behavior on which team builds. These are trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and result, on which the trust is the foundation. So let's cut the short. Here I am going to present you team behavior, and here are the few points that we are going to study today, in which effective teamwork, team rules of behavior, team member behavior, facilitator behavior, managing team conflict, learning to give and receive feedback, conflict resolution protocol, in-house team conflict mediators, disciplinary action, common issues in group behaviors, problem experienced by teams and coaches. So first of all, the effective teamwork. We generally say that if this set of few tasks are being done, team is doing great. But the story is different. Effective teamwork is not just about getting a set of tasks done. It also requires the ability to manage the process of working together, listening to each other, communicating openly, surfacing feelings, exploring different approaches, and reaching decisions. Like a person should be able to manage or should be able to work in a group, in an environment of diverse people. A person should listen to each other. um, a person should have an ability that he can communicate with the other person openly, or she should have uh, an ability to see other feelings. He should explore different approaches, he should explore different things, and he should have an ability to reach decisions. But as we see, these behaviors are often not taught in our early educational experiences, and many people have achieved success as a manager, supervisor without needing these behaviors. It's only when we need to work together as a team, these behaviors are crucial. I'm reminded of a group of professional team members who had come together to work on their management problem. They sat at the table with their laptops open, answering emails, cell phones, calls were taken in the room while the meeting was going on. Side conversations were commonplace, interruption were the norm. These people were accustomed to having no boundary placed on these behaviors. It was do your own thing atmosphere with no one accountable to anyone else. Teamwork recognized that we are accountable to each other for our behavior. It's not uncommon for about 20 or 30% of the employee involved on teams to struggle and resist the requirements to change their behaviors. Very early in the team process, member must define what will be acceptable behavior and what won't. Inattention to the relationship functions in the team is primary cause of problems later on and often prevents a team from maturing properly. So, like every field of life, and there are few set of rules on which team behavior are built, like create common expectation of behavior among team members, encourage desirable behaviors, enhance the self-management of the team, help new members know what's expected, and bring problem behavior back into the line. These are the few critical team behavior one should adopt. As I said earlier, every person hold each other accountable. Every person is responsible for others' action. A person who is in some team, he should be open, he should be honest, and he should do direct communication rather doing a circle communication, etc. He should use of assessment and metrics to measure progress, whether seeing others' qualities or others' quantities. He should be flexible, adapted. By flexible means, he should be flexible enough to adapt every kind of environment, every kind of situation. And appreciative of diversity means there are different people in a team. There are some people can be from north, some people can be from south. So there is a diversity in a group, in a team. So every person should be appreciative. Every person should accept that diversity. In a team, every person should be trustworthy and every person should trust others. So it is a common practice if group members or team members does not have a same goal or same approach, they cannot reach a success. So every team member should committed to common goals and approach. They should demonstrate mutual respect, rather on doing rather showing I attitude, they should focus on we attitude. So because we working as a team cannot be represented with the word I. Team is represented with the word we. Consensus decision making, shared and expanded roles and responsibilities. You should share roles and responsibility in a start. It's not like that team leader is doing all the things and the team is resting. Constructed conflict resolution. If you are working as a team, there will be not, but sometimes there will be conflicts. So every person should construct a conflict resolution. Every person should be a service orientation and customer focus, right size and make. They should use the joint problem solving strategies and tools. They should inclusive and thoughtful behavior. They should show thoughtful behavior. They should show shared and dispersed control and authority. Teamwork becomes particularly difficult when members recognize that they will each have to change some parts of their behavior. The strongest resistance will occur as the day of changing draws closer. Making excuses, procrastinating, blaming, and feeling ignorance are just a few of the stall tactics members will use. So here are the important behavior changes for employees, supervisors, and managers. So these are the critical behavior. If you are going to be employee, you should adapt. The first is learning to speak up in a groups, taking responsibility for one's own thoughts, action. Learning to speak up in a group, every person should learn how to speak. He should not stammer, he should not be quiet, he should do participate. Taking responsibility for one's own thoughts and action. Let's suppose if something bad happened, he should not move backward. He should be responsible for his action. If something bad happened due to her action, he should take responsibility. Learning to state an opinion and offer a proposal, receiving and expressing positive and negative feeling, saying no. He should say no. He should have an ability to say no if he thinks, let's suppose if the upper management, if the boss is doing something wrong, he should say no. Responding to criticism, making requests to authorities, negotiating for something desired. Then these are the few lists. If you're going to a supervisor, you should adapt. Being willing to share power and responsibility. If you are a supervisor, it's not like you have to do everything. You can share your responsibility, your authority with the others. You can make sub coordinates, like if there is a team of creatives, you can make one a creative lead for a designers, or one can you can make other a lead for the content creation. So it's like that you can share your responsibility. proposing ideas for discussion, asking questions instead of making statement. You should ask question. You just not you cannot just say this is going to happen or we are going to do this. You should ask others opinion. You should ask others, okay, like if we are going to do this, whether it is going to be right or wrong. You should have an ability to listen to others, and you should be an open-minded person. So, and if you're going to be manager, you should have to adapt these list of things in yourself. You should have the courage to resist recommendations that are not beneficial, accept decentralized decision making, believing that everyone has good ideas. It's not like that if you are a manager, you only have or you only going to present good ideas. The other team members can also. Being willing to implement team suggestions whenever possible, recognize team accomplishments, seeing teams as a long-term effort, thinking yes before saying no. A push-pull phenomena exists as people experiment with new behaviors. As much as we might desire a change in behavior from someone else, that is going to be the push, we resist it, the pull, because the dynamics of the relationship will also have to change if the behavior of a participant changes. For example, if an autocratic, demanding boss gradually learns to participatory and inclusive, the team member will have to change all their previous assumptions and conclusion about the boss. For whatever the reason, most people will hold back, waiting for the manager to revert to the old behavior, and may even try to lure the manager back to the old behavior just to be able to say, I told you so.